Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the XPAND podcast. This is your host, Zarin Beatty, and this is the last episode of 2019 here. The last episode right here with another beautiful Fit for Service member, Joshua Nesta. This was actually the only Fit for Service episode that I recorded when we were all together in Malibu. It just felt right to relax, recoup, and enjoy the celebration with every single person there. It truly felt like a finale of a year-long journey with each other, and it just felt right to record this with Josh. And this episode holds so much freaking depth and gravity here. Whew! Joshua shares an unbelievable story about his journey through Fit for Service, about helping his mother work through her problems with addiction, and the journey he went on in the manifestation of faith and reaching out to the people around him and just being ready for the unknown, and all of the pieces that came together is freaking mind-blowing. It's freaking crazy what is able to align when we embody a certain way of being and let go of our worry or expectation. We were both completely blown away by this entire discussion, through this entire discussion. Fit for Service, man, and woman, and humans. It's been a freaking unbelievable journey. And there's not a better episode to release on New Year's Eve than one with the Fit for Service member. Happy New Year's, everybody. Move into the new year. Move into the new decade with beautiful motion and beautiful presence. We are here and we are willing and we are ready. Much, 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 much love for all of you. For you, Josh, for anybody and everybody listening. Please enjoy this beautiful episode with Josh Nesta. Much love. Peace. Josh Nesta, my friend. My brother. It's been a long year, bro.
What a fucking year.
It's been one hell of a year. You're the only Fit for Service podcast I'm doing this weekend. And this is the last weekend of our group meetups, of this mastermind group. That's powerful, bro.
Incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for having me, dude.
Dude, thanks for also wanting to be doing this.
Actually, the other day, like a couple months ago when we were having that conversation at dinner, and you were telling me how powerful you thought my message was, that's what motivated me to go back on Instagram and write it all out. Like literally that conversation inspired the fuck out of me. And that's why I did that. So thank you.
Bro, you're so welcome. Thank you for sharing it at dinner. That's literally why we're here right now. A big part of it, not the only reason, of course, but you shared a good chunk of your journey in Sedona. And if you just want to jump deep, bro, like how has this year been for you? How has your journey been for you, bro?
Dude, this has been hands down the most powerful year of my life, without question. I've been through like a lot of ups and downs in life, but this year specifically, like, and it's been, I guess it started around last year, August, where things started moving, but joining Fit for Service specifically is when it just, shit got weird. in all the best ways possible. The tribe itself is just so powerful and cathartic and healing and safe space to be vulnerable. Safe space for like men to fucking open their hearts in front of other men and cry. Like society says that's not okay, but that's more than okay because it's the only way to heal. And then I've dealt with a lot of, it was funny because Fit for Service was broken into the 4 quarters: the physically fit, the mentally fit, the emotionally fit, and the spiritually fit. And as we went through each quarter, my life was taking on that theme, which was freaking so powerful to experience.
It really felt like each summit was the exact way it should have been, and that we got what we needed out of every single time we met up. And during the whole curriculum, if you want to call it that, it was meant to be, man. Every
single piece of it and every single person was so fucking orchestrated by the universe. It was beautiful.
Orchestrated by the universe. Building that symphony with each other. And you feel it during the ecstatic dance, and you feel it during all of the moments we're eating dinner and talking and getting to know each other more. It was so fluid how our relationships were building and building each 3 months through the whole year.
Yeah, and especially relationship with the self too. I've seen so many people absolutely transform into like their higher self, dude. And it was just like so inspiring. Is so inspiring.
Bro, I had some major breakthroughs this weekend. Like a finale of breakthroughs. And that's how this whole weekend felt. Was a finale. It was a celebration of all the work, of everything we've ever been through with each other, without each other, but next to each other.
Yeah. So beautiful. So beautiful. Are you continuing on?
Yeah.
Continuing on next year?
I am. I was on the fence. I wasn't going to do it until the very last CEO call with Aubrey. And some shit was said and things were extremely helpful. And
what was the inspiration?
It was really deep insight on, it's so crazy how anything works, because it was deep insight on a project that I've been working on for a really long time, and like why I'm unable to like internally move forward with it. And that lesson like blossomed so deep with Paul Selig, and then it blossomed even more the next day and even more the next day. It's just been really unraveling and unpacking this like potentially deep inner child of myself that was always caught in the middle of making a choice. And it's powerful. I told you I'm going to be journaling a whole lot on the ride back and potentially for the next few weeks.
100%. The integration process is going to be lengthy.
Lengthy, man. Lengthy, bro. You had an incredible story about Tulum.
Yeah.
And including the Temazcal and the Sweat Lodge. And for anybody who hasn't experienced any kind of sweat lodge, let alone a sweat lodge built from the Mayan culture, if you feel the calling, I highly suggest you go. The womb-like essence of this heatful movement, so freaking powerful what it can do.
Yeah, you're in the mother's womb and there's just like all the heat, and it's without medicine at all. You're just you and nature, and you're going very deeply inward, and it's very healing and it's ceremonial in a sense, and it's beautiful.
Just breathe, right? You just gotta breathe through it, regardless of what we're doing and where we are. I know breathing was so huge for this weekend. I probably took more deep breaths this weekend than I have in the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
Easily.
Easy.
Do you want to talk about Tulum a little bit?
Let's do it. So to get into that, I actually have to go back to my childhood. So lived a normal life for a while. And when I was around 7 years old, my mom injured her back working at Home Depot, picked up a box, and just next day she was crawling on the floor and she herniated a couple discs. And as a 7-year-old, your mom just gets hurt. Now she's bedridden, and the love that you felt was just instantly cut off because she was in so much pain. She couldn't even connect to the love in herself. So how can she extend that love to the children? So I went through this very emotional roller coaster for the next number of years, actually. And they called me ADHD, ADD, ODD, put me on 12 to 15 different types of medicines over the next few years, led me to becoming like morbidly obese. They put me in this hospital a few times because they couldn't care for me enough because I was acting out and throwing temper tantrums, and it was just like this whole slew of things. It's very, like, reflecting back on it, it was beautiful, beautiful lessons, but as the younger self, it's difficult. So going through that process, I was on these different medications, and at one point, one of the medications led to me developing like extra breast tissue. And it's called a condition called gynecomastia. And I had already become overweight. So I didn't notice this until I was 15, 16 when I started wrestling and I lost the weight and the tissue wasn't going away. So I just thought it was because I was overweight. If I lost the weight, the boobs would go away essentially. But I saw this commercial like years later. I took the medicine when I was 8 or 9. And I saw this commercial that was saying, if you have this, or this, please consult the law firm. And it turns out there's this massive lawsuit, like a bunch of different lawsuits with against Johnson & Johnson because of how much impact it's had on people all around the world, developing issues that the Johnson & Johnson knew about with that specific type of medication. And that medication was being given to kids all over the place. So it's kind of fucked up. And they actually, it's for schizophrenia, like that's what it was for, but they gave it to me just to kind of test it out. And it turned out that the doctors were getting kickbacks by prescribing it out to different children. So I went through that process, and that was like psychologically damaging, but through all of that, I just got better. Like I kind of grew up, stepped into myself, and I started just raising myself around 15, 16. But then the stock market crashed in 2008 and the housing crisis and all of that. And our house got foreclosed, and my mom started using crack cocaine. And I thought she started using, but it turns out that she had been an addict when she was younger. So she relapsed, but 25 years later because of all the stress of the economy. And that was fucking traumatic to experience, like not only the trauma as a kid, but then when I finally got better and reached this place, then the shitstorm came up again. So that was intense. But kind of fast forward a little bit, I moved out on my own senior year of high school because the environment at home was so bad. She went to rehab like 4 times. She would come home and relapse days later. She would bring sketchy people into the home environment. She was prostituting herself on the streets sometimes just to get enough money to fund her drug use. And I was like, I can either go down a very bad path, or I can fucking raise myself, protect myself, and get the fuck out of here. So I moved in with my best friend, and just, that's literally where I found my spirituality for the first time, was that year of my life. It was like when I was in high school, senior year, and everything around me was kind of chaotic and crumbling down, and I went inward. Somebody gave me this book called The Power of Now, which was the most profound book at that moment for my life. So I started meditating every single day, started religiously like being aware of myself and my mind. And I was like, well, there's something here. Like, the ego, these things were resonating with me very, very deeply. And because I was able to find solace in silence and inside myself, I was able to see the world in a completely different way. I was able to sit down and alchemize all the lessons from my childhood, all that pain, and kind of take it in and realize what gems it had given me, how it had helped me grow into the person that I am, and had solidified me for this fucking tough world that everyone has to deal with. After that, working, and then I ended up going to college, and my spirituality kind of descended a little bit. And when I graduated, because I just got back into drinking and all these things, so I was trying to meditate, but I couldn't keep my vibration high, and there's like societal groups, all these things. And this is like a short story, kind of summing it up a little bit. But enter, I think it was last year, 2018, I did plant medicines for my first time. And that was powerful. And I was accepting a job offer in San Francisco. So I moved from Florida to San Francisco. But while I was there, I just felt this like deep depression, like dark, deep depression. And let me backtrack a little bit. Sorry. The beginning of 2018 is when I got into Aubrey Marcus, because I was looking into plant medicines and I saw all of the blogs and all of these things in the podcast. And I was like, finally, there's other people on the path doing the work. And I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Because in high school, it had been so damn lonely, like on the spiritual path by yourself.
That just gave me chills, by the way.
It's like that calling. And kind of put a pause on the story for a second. I've talked to so many people in the mastermind group, in the group, and asked about their synchronistic like stories of how they got to the group, because everyone had a synchronistic calling. Everyone. And it's fascinating. So I just like stumbled upon all this work, heavily resonated with it, ended up going to Peru, working with ayahuasca, did 7 ceremonies in 12 days. Fucking beautiful, very powerful. Ended up moving to San Francisco to accept a job, dropped into a deep, dark depression because my heart wasn't in the work that I was doing. And a friend of mine was like, you want to move to Miami and start a digital advertising agency? I was like, fuck yeah. So we moved. I like took a leave of absence from this company. I moved, and in January of this year, actually, which is exactly when, this is crazy. So that's when Fit for Service started at the beginning of the year. And that day is when I landed back in Miami with no apartment, no place to live. I was just like, I'm going to Miami, and I fucking landed there. So there were so many new beginnings at the beginning of this year, and it feels like lifetimes ago. Yeah. So you asked about the Temescal. And so at this time, my mom was kind of just like in and out of rehabs and all these things, right? I kind of put it on the side so I can raise myself, take care of myself, get my life in order. So kind of had to numb it out for a while. And I didn't know what to do. It's like, what the fuck can I do? She's still using all the time. She's using. She went to jail for 2 years for like these credit card scams just to fund her addiction and all these things. And I was like, what do I do? How do I save her? How can I help her? And I remember during ayahuasca, I would have visions, like a bunch of visions, but I didn't really believe in visions yet. It was my first taste of kind of like that, the other realms and like these signals and these visuals. So I had this vision of needing to save her. Her spirit like came to me and was like, save your mom. Like, don't give up. Don't give up. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean don't give up? I haven't given up, but what am I supposed to do? And then before I went to Miami, so this was like New Year's, Christmas, New Year's, I got invited to sit with a tribe in Colombia to work with Yahe for like a New Year's gathering. And it was like 100 people in the middle of the Amazon jungle. And it was one of the most profound experiences of my life because it was just so beautiful, dancing and singing with this tribe. And like we were working with Yahe, and I had the same vision again, save your mom. And I'm like, what do I do? How can I help? And I was just like, I don't know if I believe it because I don't know what to do. And there was another layer to it this time. It was like a realization that she needs like a tribe like this, like something to take her out of the Western society and give her like that support, the spiritual support.
Bro. Chills.
It's fucking crazy. So I had that vision, and then fast forward to Tulum. So this was the second meetup, I think, right? Or the third. It was the second meetup. Mm-hmm. So that was June, July, something like that. But we did the Temescal, and I had never done that. I didn't really have expectations, didn't know what it was. I was like, we're just getting in a little hot sauna, right? I do the sauna all the time. Fucking get in there is one of the hottest things I've ever experienced in my life. I almost pass the fuck out every time. So the way it works is there's 4 rounds, and they open up to all the 4 different directions, and then you go through 4 different doors. And so each door is like a round. And by the 3rd door, I was like passing out dizzy, like ridiculous. And then the 4th door, I almost passed the fuck, like actually almost died. It felt like, but in that moment, like in that desperation moment, I had the same vision, dude. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Don Howard says that hallucinations come from the mind, visions come from the heart.
Damn, I've never heard that. That's so beautiful.
That's powerful, bro. To be receiving and perceiving similar, if not the same, vision each moment you're doing these things.
For a while, I had thought it was maybe my ego, like this, like that son wanting to save their mother type of thing, you know? And it was just so clear at this point. It was like it was so powerful. And I'm crawling out of this Temescal, dude. I'm crawling out, fucking like everyone's kind of like all laying on the sand and like freaking out. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How do I do that? And then I just had the thought as I'm sitting there eating that dank fruit, dude. They do fuck. It's incredible fruit.
So fresh after that. The lemonade, everything. So good.
I just had this feeling that I needed to talk with the shamans. I let it. And I was like, do you guys have a program where people can come work with this medicine? Because the Temescal fucking rocked my world. I was like, this is so beautiful. This medicine is powerful. And they said, yeah, they have a 3-month program. And the shaman actually has worked with hundreds of addicts and cured almost all of them just with Temescal. Like the main shaman that was working with us, he healed himself with Temescal. He was a heroin addict. And he was able to alchemize that into medicine and start healing other people with the power of the heat, which just fucking blew my mind. So fast forward, we left, right? And then a week and a half later, I'm back in Mexico with my mom, dude. A week and a half later, fucking back.
Did he tell you that it was starting like the next week?
That's the thing. So I talked to him. So there was a lot that happened in that week and a half. It was like, talk about condensed manifestation, fucking creation energy. So go back and I have the call with the guy and he kind of describes the program to me. And it's just like, there's not really a program. They would just be working with my mom in the village that they work with. And they hold Temescals a few times a week. And they would just kind of take her under their wing and work with her directly. And he's like, it's like $20,000. I'm like, we're fucking broke, dude. There's like no way that's possible. We don't have the money, even if I wanted to. And I was just thinking, I was like, what do we do? Like, what do I do? And I was like, but I know this is right. Like my mom's going to be there. I just don't know how. So I got rid of all the disbelief and all the ego and the fear. And I was like, okay, fuck, if it was possible, how can we make this work? So
first of all, saying I got rid of all the disbelief is such a powerful phrase. Because that's a feeling. We hold on to that disbelief. If we can move that away or release it or let it go or alchemize it, we open up doors and pathways.
Infinity, dude.
To infinity, bro. To the endless unknown of pure potential.
Period.
All right, Paul Seller.
Shout out to Paul Seller.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude. And that, I don't even know where I learned that, you know? Like just life, because I'd been dealt with so much bullshit and done the impossible so many times that I didn't give a fuck what society was saying. I just knew that we all have the power of creation in us at every moment. You just have to believe like a motherfucker, and you can't let society's influences move you at all. Like you have to believe so much and hold that belief so long until it comes into manifestation. And that's not easy.
That's divine presence.
Yeah.
To be so deeply present with that moment or intention or whatever it may be, that bridge. Whew.
And what's crazy is that you could take that idea and put it on anything that anybody's ever created. It's the same thing. You don't have to know how it's going to work out. You just have to know what you want in your heart at the end. And then let the details kind of take care of themselves.
Word, bro. Wow, what a different way to perceive that. That really resonates just with like XPAND as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so hard maybe this is a belief, and I'm gonna really fucking check myself on this. This
Ooh.
is weird. This is weird. I feels like it's hard for me to set goals in a sense because I'm so like driven on like the end goal, which is essentially, this came up in one of the summits, like bridging pure beauty and healing through planet Earth. And I really believe and feel that being so deeply present and intuitive with where we are builds that.
Yeah.
So these aspects of like goal setting in between like almost don't make sense to me, because it feels like I might be moving in a direction that actually isn't fulfilling the thing that should be fulfilled, because I feel like fulfilling the end goal is through intuition and deep alignment. So if I'm like mentally projecting myself into a direction, it feels like it disassociates from that deep alignment.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're a different human, bro. So that's the thing. It's like with your perspective and your heart and intention around the end goal and keeping that constant and holding yourself accountable to that level, that's possible. But the thing is, most people let their mind wander so much that they need little goals just to move them forward. And that's the problem. It's like, if you can stay undistracted, you can create the world. But most people get distracted by their mind, influences, society, all these things, and it distracts them.
Word, which we all deal with.
We
You
all
even saying
fucking
that,
deal
I
with
mean, how fucking often do I spend on YouTube? You know what I mean? That's a whole different way to become distracted in a sense. That's a complete side note, but it is interwoven and interrelated. But please, bro, proceed.
Yeah, so I want to kind of get into the details of what I fucking went through in that week and a half, just so people realize that, like, when you have a goal and you believe in it, you will always meet resistance every time, without a doubt. Every time. Like, that's the fucking point. It's like, how bad do you want it? And you got to ask yourself that. Like, how bad do you really fucking want it? Every time. And if you don't want it that bad, you're not going to get it. If you do, the universe will test you. It'll throw you sideballs. It'll fucking make you not believe in yourself. It'll bring people into your life to tell you that idea is bad. It's not working. All of these things. But you have to know in your heart so much to deflect all the bullshit. So what happened for me is I went back, had this conversation. He told me the number, and my mind was like, fuck that, it's not possible. And I'm like, fuck you, this is possible. To my mind. So I turned the equation from thinking I don't have the money to thinking, what can I do? Not what I don't have. It's like, what can I look for? Who can I reach out to?
Bro.
What can I, like, other ways of possible action instead of fear. And I was like, okay, well, my dad, ironically, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that, just ran into like a large sum of money that he was owed from the government or something, but he's stingy. Like, I mean, I'll take that back. He's not necessarily stingy, but my family, it has this like negative energy all around money my entire life. And that's what happened with the foreclosure and all these things. My brother, and it's just like, there's this fear of lack, and that energy protrudes through a lot of things. And that's like a lot of people, of course. So I reached out to my dad and I was like, I want to do this. Can you put any money towards it? And he's like, if your brother donates, I'll match however much he donates. But I didn't think my brother would have any money to kind of put towards it. I called him and he's like, yeah, fuck yeah. And I'm like, wow, fuck yeah. So, then there was like $5,000, $6,000 raised just like that. Oh, and another friend of mine, just like this homie, dude, I told him the whole story and he was just so impacted by it and like happy. And like, he's just like, here's $1,000. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, thank you, man. And I was speaking to one of the points of contact for the program and I was like, we don't have the money. And he's like, well, we can work out like a payment plan kind of thing. And I was like, okay, but we really just don't have that much money. I can get $6,000 or whatever the case may be, and then we can try to pay monthly. And he's like, let's make it work. I feel like if I don't help your mom right now, nobody will, and she'll die. And that's actually the same feeling that I had. It was like this kind of like last call, like, do what you can, keep trying. But that vision, those visions that came to me, I was like, it's happening. Like, this is bigger than me. It's not because I'm her son. There's a bigger message here, and I'm just the one to fucking bring it into fruition.
just chills this whole freaking story. Because I'm aware of what happens. It's so amazing to hear this climb, bro.
Fucking like Everest, dude.
Oh.
Yo, and this is after Tulum, so I didn't even have time to process or integrate, dude. So I'm sitting there, fucking week and a half later, I'm back in Mexico, so no integration. And I went with her so that she can kind of feel like comfortable in the meantime. But it was fucking powerful, dude. She got a lot of healing. She was able to connect with her spirituality in a way that she's never been able to do. And then I started thinking about addiction overall, like our societal's view of addiction. And I was like, that's the problem, is we're trying to heal it in the country that we like created one of the biggest reasonings for it. Because the West is so disconnected from self. And there's a lot of people sad. And addiction is just one aspect of a numbing that you can do to try to like numb that. And it has this negative stigma in society. But it's just a fucking problem that we need to deal with love and community and understanding. And they don't have that view here, I think. It lacks.
Aho.
Aho.
Damn. All right. So you've raised about $6,000.
Yeah, it was like $6,000, and I forget the numbers at this point, but then I'm in fit for service and I couldn't afford it because I was like, I need to put this money towards my mom's treatment now. And Ava, this beautiful human in the group, just like put out this petition asking, basically asking enough people to sign it where the coaches would feel that it's fair if I stay. And I had all this resistance. I'm like, fuck no, I don't deserve that. Like, I don't want that. Like, it feels like uncomfortable, you know, being given things. And just everyone in the community was just so loving. And everyone's like, fuck yeah, we love you. We love you. And I'm like, I love you.
Bro, we signed that shit immediately.
Immediately, dude. And my heart was just burst open. And that was fucking so beautiful. And because of that, actually, I also wrote like this GoFundMe. And so many people donated, dude. Like, so many people. And then raised another like $2,000, $2,300, something like that. And I was just like, wow. Like, this is the power of community. This is the power of belief. And I thought I had to do it all myself, but I just had to like believe in it long enough to show other people to, and I wasn't even asking them to believe in my mom. I was asking them to believe in me, which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Broke my heart in a good way. Just cracked it open.
Broke it open. Yeah. How did your own personal journey interweave with your mom's journey?
Whew. That was a fucking tough one. So that was the emotional. That was the emotional quarter, dude. How crazy is that? And that quarter, I went through so many tears, cracked open. So me feeling that need to help my mom and having those visions, could without even knowing it, numbed that part of my life. I was like, I can't feel pain this way anymore because she's not going to get better. And then I finally like saw her as her higher self and in truth and like healing and seeing the beauty in her and the love and like the small little girl that's just hurt, you know, and she just needs healing. And it's powerful. But so I'm there and I went to Mexico with her and she's in the Temazcal. We were doing like 4 Temazcals a week. I stayed 10 days. She stayed 3 months and they were doing like 4 or 5 a week. And we were in there and there was so much energy because I realized that the majority of my trauma was at the same time as her. So our traumas were linked and I was traumatizing her younger self being the child that was acting out.
Oh my God.
Because like I said
bro.
Previously, she was addicted 25 years before she relapsed because she had this fucking powerful life before. Like, she was sexually abused. She was like, nobody really believed in her. And she's very like sensitive energetically. And society wasn't very conducive to sensitive people back then. So she felt different, unloved, not understood, not seen. So she gravitated towards drugs. And that younger child in her, like 14, 15, never was able to heal to this day. And I saw that and I just fucking had so much compassion and understanding on like a very profoundly deep level. And then I realized that that's so many people in our society, dude. This generational trauma is like one of the biggest diseases in a way. Not disease, but like this thing that we have to really pay attention to and start talking about more.
So this comes up a lot, especially when we're on this path, on this journey, this concept of generational trauma and epigenetics and these things that bleed through our family lineage. But bro, you just pieced it together so differently where like your trauma as a child was fueling her trauma and her trauma was fueling your trauma.
Yeah.
This is where the internal work is so beyond important, especially together. You both helped heal each other.
Dude, what's crazy is the realization that like in our society, it's so interesting to think about because the children have to grow up, learn how to reparent themselves, heal, and go back and parent their parents. That's what we're dealing with.
Holy shnikes.
But it's beautiful in a way, dude. It's like when you think about the essence of that, like becoming your higher self so you can actually go back and help your parents who gave you life.
Who allowed it to be in the first place.
And it's not their fault that there's trauma.
It's not.
It's nobody's fault.
It's nobody's fault. But we're in it.
It's our responsibility.
How do we deal with it?
With love.
What do we do about it? We love it.
We love it.
Man, so this is so cool. Ryan Mullins, I don't know if you were around. I half the time I don't know when these things happen. But at one point, Ryan Mullins was talking about getting caught up in his mind and feeling the insecurities and feeling the fears or whatever he was going through. And when we recognize that we're getting caught up in those patterns, what's the best way through it? It's to love the patterns. You're like bypassing the system in such a deep way by just putting love on those parts, man. That's what choice is. When we have those recognitions, we can choose to love those parts of ourselves and we feel what we're meaning to feel, which is love, bro.
Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is that like a lot of people, because we all have these things that come up, but we don't know how to love ourselves. So we seek love from other people. We seek external validation and we expect other people to kind of like parent us and like, tell me it's okay. Tell me I'm okay. Tell me you love me. But it's like, fuck that. Fuck all that. Love yourself so deeply you don't need anyone else to love you, but you can accept all the love.
How many moments in a person's life, just by hearing you say that, can they think back on the times that they were asking for love from somebody else?
Every single one of them.
Bro, every person on the planet.
Reflect on that.
At some point, I was feeling it as you were saying it. Girlfriends, parents, whatever.
Yeah. I had everyone flash before my eyes and I was like, I've done that shit so much.
Wow. It really isn't about not doing it. It's about recognizing when we are, when we do, when we have.
It's hyper awareness.
And just slowly honing deeper into the person that we're meaning to be.
Yeah.
And destined to be. Collectively. Felt like in cue right there, bro. Rhyming that up. Frank Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, what do we do from here? How do we bring this back home? How do we truly grow this? Is it individually? And he's like, is it individually? Is it one by one? And I'm like, well, what does one mean? Because this group, we're one.
Yeah.
What does one actually mean? And if you think about a group of 120 people being one, like that's the power of numbers, bro.
Mm-hmm.
The power of perspective. And that's still in an individual sense, but it's the collective wholesome one,
of that
bro.
One, yeah.
Like we are one. Planetarily one.
Exactly.
Your mom's in Tulum. What's she going through?
She's going through hell and back, dude. But so okay, this is fascinating to me actually. So she was on like 12 different types of medications for all these things that her doctor, you have this, you have this, you have that, you have pain, this, all that, back pain, you need this, headaches, you need this. And she gets there 2 days, she's off all the medications. The doctors were telling her that she needed that. And as the patient, you start to believe that, and then you do. So when she was there, and then the shamans were telling her that you don't need that, she started to believe that again, to believe that she didn't need them, to believe that she may have been misled or lied to. And she was off the medicine in 2 days, and she never felt better. Energy wise, like she stopped smoking crack. She didn't have any cravings really. Like it was so fucking powerful to see, because what was crazy, she's a warrior, man. Like I went home and I was like, Mom, are you ready to get sober? And all this fucking cracked my heart, dude. I was like, she's like, what do you mean? I was like, do you want to get better? She's like, yeah. I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, but what do I do when I'm better? And I was like, what do you mean? What do you do if you're better? Like, what would you do every day of your life if you never used? Like, she was so clouded in this like despair space in her mind, and like so many low vibrations just cluttering her energy. She couldn't even see a life outside of that daily thing. She couldn't even envision a life without the drugs. Couldn't envision what would she want to do if she had her life back. That's so sad, dude. It's like I had to hold her vision for her long enough for her to fucking see it again. And I feel like that lesson right there is a lot of people that are lost, and not even just with drugs, but with sadness, anxiety, all these things. They're so caught up in the egoic mind that they don't have space to see their life from a higher viewpoint, to see the medicine that they have inside of them.
This goes so deep in so many directions, in terms of even people who have like an endless to-do list. Like, what do I do when I'm done? Like, we don't like know how to not be where we are for the most part.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter like where that is. That's just a very extreme case.
What's crazy is because you asked earlier about the, like, how did her healing align with mine? And it was everything. So the group that allowed that manifestation to come to fruition, that vision, because of the Temescal, then the group holding me in the group. It's almost like I couldn't leave. And then it's Sedona. And my mom had just recently gotten back. And I went to Sedona, and I almost didn't go. But there's another crazy synchronicity. But I was going to go to a family wedding. And I was going to go with my brother. And I was like, I guess I can't go to Sedona this time, but I really feel like I need to be there, because every time we're in these places, our vibrations raise so high that it's so healing, so powerful. And then our group won the app thing. And so we got the dinner with Aubrey, and I was just like, I have to be there. Like, I felt it. It's like, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than everything. So 4 days before, I had to change my flight, tell my family I couldn't make it. I was like, this is bigger than me, dude. I have to be there. And Sedona changed my life. Because I was lost, and I was lost in my own sauce that whole year, dude. Seeking for my purpose, feeling lost. And looking back, I was in the same space as my mom. So starting after ayahuasca, moving to San Francisco, I was in this dire despair, trying to figure out my purpose. What do I do? How do I do it? I don't know what to do. I dropped into the deepest depression I'd ever been in, dude. I was doing fucking MDMA by myself during the week, multiple times a week. I was in this addiction cycle. And it was so like a hypocrite, because I was like, Mom, you need to get better, but I'm the addict. I was an addict too. I was like lost in my own sauce, but society saying it's okay. And I was drinking wine by myself and like all of these things, dude, partying on the weekends. I was like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? So I end up in Miami, and I'm just lost in that cyclical up and down, just like trying to get myself out. I'm meditating every day, but then I'm drinking on the weekends. This fucking irony. And then I'm just like, well, I don't know what my purpose is. But I knew deep down that in order to be given that information, I had to stop partying. I had to stop drinking. I had to go sober. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, I won't do it. And then in Sedona, dude, that whatever was happening that third time, everyone came together so powerfully, and it was just this, and my heart was so filled, and I truly understood the mission of Fit for Service, dude. And like, I really like got it now. And I felt the importance of how big this is, not individually, but like collectively, like worldwide collectively. Because all of us, the one doing that work, is healing everyone else's communities too. And I went back from Sedona, and I decided to, there were a few influences, like Kyle was doing Sober October, and I was like, I'm going to do it. Had a little bit of resistance. I was like, I don't want to fucking do it, but I know I need to do it. And then within a week, I had a completely different friend group. I had fucking 6 new friends. My purpose had never been more clear. I started believing in myself. I moved to a different apartment. Like, I had this beautiful view. Life changed overnight, dude. Like, I've never seen so many things move so fast. And then I started listening to Paul Selig at the same time. And my vibration was just, and I was becoming this person I didn't even recognize overnight, dude. This is 2.5 months ago. I would not believe that I am where I am today, but I think a big piece of it was helping my mom get that healing. Because like I said, our traumas were intertwined. So helping the generation before you heal their trauma helps yourself heal. And it's like this fucking beautiful artist work out of like this tapestry of life that is so complex, but so specific at the same time. And
yeah. I could go in 28 different directions right now. One, are you still drinking or anything?
Nope.
No?
Never, dude. I'm never going to.
Bro, I haven't. In January, it'll be 2 years. And it's been one of the best choices I've ever made.
Yeah.
Because it happens like that, bro. And you get different friends, and the patterns of your behavior change, and the environments that you enter change.
Mm-hmm.
Your purpose, your internal intentions shift.
Dude, it was crazy because, like, all right, all those traumas that happened when I was younger, when I quit, I had to, like, I was finally able to hear myself in a way. And I had convinced myself, and I talk about this on Instagram and all those stories, but I was like, I healed that trauma. That year of my life when I was meditating every day, I healed that trauma. When in my childhood, I fucking healed it. But what I ignored was that in college, so for the past like years after that, when I went to college until just recently, I had been drinking almost all the time. I was drinking so much coffee, taking stimulants, all these things that I was like, I healed it. But I was going so fast forward. I was living so much in the future that I didn't silence. I was never in silence to actually hear myself, hear the traumas. So in that month, dude, I started processing, and all of these memories still to this day have been coming up that I just completely forgot about. But as that was happening, I started to understand where my heart is, understand where my passions are, understand the gifts that I have. And it was just like so grateful for all of those things to come up and to be not be interested in activities that aren't helping me grow. And it's so obvious, but like society's influences make you think that you need to do those things to fit in with different people.
So we could talk 48 minutes on that alone. What about when parents or people in your family like don't want to be helped? I mean, that's literally most people. Yeah, it feels like.
I heard an incredible being say this the other day. The most powerful medicine for a parent is seeing their child raise themselves and evolve. So it's just being that example, just living your life so purely and raising your vibration so high that you're this massive star illuminating them. And they're like, holy shit, that's my creation. I brought that being into this world.
Be the example, right? That's what it seems to come down to every time.
Every time, dude.
Be the model of behavior. Be the example.
That was actually my biggest takeaway this retreat. I did mushrooms, and I was getting all these... It was right after Paul Selig too, so our vibrations were all raised and everything, and I had been doing all this work and trying to figure out, because I feel resistance towards stepping into my power and stepping into my purpose and like being that example. And I'm like, why do I have this resistance if I know the path, if I know what I need to do? But that resistance is so fucking deeply ingrained. And I was just outside in nature, and I was just listening to everything, like the plants and the thunder of the waves. And they were all beautiful teachers for me that night. And I realized that we don't honor ourselves as divine beings. We forget how fucking beautifully powerful we are. And one example of our individual power and being able to bring that back to your community is so immensely powerful, because you are then the example that they feel vibrationally. You don't even have to say anything. Mm-hmm. It's your state of being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so subconscious. That's what these maestros of the medicine do for people.
Yeah.
That's what Don Howard has done for people. As be this presence and energy and form that our deep knowing and essence can be like, oh, like that's possible. That's possible. That is a phone. I wonder why they're calling.
They want to come hang out with us?
If they call back, will you answer that? That's interesting.
And what goes back to this like individual power and stuff is like the idea of manifestation that we were talking about previously, and how crucial it is that people pay attention to the way that they're interacting with the world. Because whether they believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are every single second manifesting your reality. You are creating it through your thoughts, beliefs, habits, patterns, all of these things. And when you're aligned to who you are and you're healthy in the physical body, in your mental body, emotional body, you start to realize how fast you can create things in your world. And once you start to recognize your own power, then you can turn around and help your other brothers and sisters realize that power inside of them. And not like power like you're going to take things from people. It's a creation power. Mm-hmm, this beautiful creation that we are.
Strength
and love, and courage.
It feels like we're getting short on time, unfortunately.
Time is but a construct.
Of course. Bro, how would you be able to wrap this up? How's your mom doing? How are you doing?
I've never been better, dude. Like, I've absolutely never been better. I feel great. I'm in such a different space. And I'm excited to see what comes. And it's an honor to know you and to be a part of this fucking group, especially. And my mom she's better than she's ever been. But the integration period, going back to the same environment with all those triggers, I think it's tough, because our society doesn't have a space for integration for something like that. And she's on her own path, so she has to figure it out. And I don't think she's going to start using again or anything like that, because she tapped into her essence at a level that, like, it'll wake anybody up, dude. And once you're woken up, it's kind of hard to ignore what you saw. So time will tell to see what happens with that. But I'm proud of her.
I'm proud of you both.
Thank you, brother.
I freaking love you both. I don't even know your mom, but I know her through you. And because I know you, I know her.
Yeah.
To some degree. Deeply pleased and profoundly honored that we had a moment to do this.
Likewise, man.
Bro, you helped my own personal journey so much by sharing that. By being in the room with you, sharing that. Get the full download of that. This will help people. This episode will help people. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Thank you, beautiful humans, for listening.
What if people have questions for you? Would you like them to reach out?
Yes, please. I would love that.
About if they have
anything,
family members going through something similar?
Anything. And I also work with people doing breath work. I do like sessions over Zoom or in person, and we can work through that. But they can find me on Instagram at Josh Nesta. But I would, if anyone's going through something similar, I would love to speak with you and just like kind of give you some insight, because it's fucking lonely, and there's like such a negative stigma around the idea of addiction, and people are embarrassed to tell people that their family members or themselves have had a problem. But fuck that. We need to be the example. Yo yourself.
That's what's up. Josh, bro, thank you for real.
Thank you so
You're
much.
freaking
man.
beautiful. We'll talk soon.
Most definitely.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Peace.